In the opening days of January 2020, as the world ushered in a new year, simmering tensions in the Middle East were about to reach a boiling point. The geopolitical landscape was already fraught with complexities, and a single event was poised to send shockwaves across the globe. A U.S. drone strike, authorized at the highest levels, eliminated Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, a figure of immense power and influence within the Iranian regime. He was not merely a military commander, he was an architect of Iran's regional strategy, a key player in its foreign policy, and a symbol of its ambitions. The strike occurred at Baghdad International Airport, a location that underscored the regional implications of Soleimani's activities. His death sent a national shockwave through Iran, a moment of profound grief and anger. It was perceived as a direct blow to its national pride and its projection of power on the international stage. The loss of Soleimani was not just a military setback, it was a deep wound to the nation's psyche. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, the ultimate authority in Iran, vowed severe revenge, promising a response that would match the gravity of the loss. As millions filled the streets in mourning, a groundswell of public sentiment demanded retribution, fueling the pressure on the government to act decisively. Iran's leaders were now faced with a complex and dangerous dilemma. To retaliate forcefully would risk a full-blown war with the United States, a conflict with potentially catastrophic consequences. But to do nothing, to absorb the blow without a response, would make the regime appear weak and indecisive, both at home and abroad. The world watched with bated breath, bracing for Iran's next move, knowing that the stakes were incredibly high. There was a palpable fear that any miscalculation could ignite a wider conflict, engulfing the already volatile region in flames. The question was no longer if Iran would act to avenge Soleimani's death, but how it could strike back in a way that would satisfy its domestic audience and deter future aggression, without triggering an all-out war that could spell disaster for the entire region. On January 8th, a date etched in recent history, the world held its breath, anticipating Iran's response to escalating tensions. The preceding days had been fraught with uncertainty, following a series of events that had brought the region to the brink. Iran launched missiles, a volley of projectiles piercing the night sky. This was not an impulsive act, but a carefully considered move in a high-stakes game of geopolitical chess. The launch itself was a display of military capability, a signal to both regional adversaries and global powers. The missiles were aimed at two Iraqi bases housing U.S. troops. These bases were strategic locations, vital for maintaining a U.S. presence in the region and conducting operations against extremist groups. The choice of targets was deliberate, sending a clear message about Iran's reach and resolve. The attack was dramatic, a spectacle of fire and force that captured the world's attention. Explosions lit up the night, and the reverberations of the strikes were felt far beyond the immediate vicinity. But carefully planned, missiles targeted equipment, infrastructure, and specific areas within the bases. The aim was not indiscriminate destruction but a calibrated demonstration of power, not people. This precision targeting suggested an effort to minimize casualties, a crucial element in Iran's strategy. Iran's state media declared victory, portraying the missile strikes as a resounding success and a powerful response to perceived aggression. But intelligence suggested advance warnings were given to avoid casualties. This information, gleaned from various sources, painted a picture of a carefully orchestrated operation designed to send a message without triggering a full-blown conflict. The operation was a calculated show of strength, a demonstration of Iran's military capabilities and its willingness to use them. Designed to satisfy domestic demands for revenge, fueled by public anger and a desire for retribution, without provoking all-out war. It was a delicate balancing act, walking the line between asserting power and avoiding a catastrophic escalation. For Iranians, it was catharsis, a release of pent-up emotions and a moment of national pride. For the world, a signal that Iran could strike, but chose restraint. The message was nuanced, conveying both capability and a desire to avoid further bloodshed. The message to Washington was clear: we retaliated, but left room for de-escalation. The ball was now firmly in the U.S. court, with the world watching to see how they would respond. Iran's retaliation was political theater, a carefully staged performance designed to project strength and resolve. Powerful in appearance, limited in consequence. The damage inflicted was minimal, suggesting a desire to avoid escalating the conflict further. The ball was now in America's court. The world waited with bated breath to see what their next move would be. The world held its breath, a collective anticipation hanging in the air. News outlets flashed breaking alerts, social media buzzed with speculation, and governments worldwide convened emergency meetings. All eyes were fixed on Washington, D.C., waiting for America's response. The weight of the world seemed to rest on the shoulders of the president, as the globe braced for what might come next. Then, President Trump addressed the nation from the White House. The atmosphere was thick with tension as he stepped up to the podium. Instead of the fiery rhetoric many anticipated, instead of escalation, he announced that no Americans were harmed in the attacks. A collective sigh of relief could almost be heard around the world. In a surprising turn, he even praised Iran's restraint, acknowledging that the damage could have been far worse. Trump, against expectations, reframed the attack not as an act of war, but as a de-escalation, a symbolic gesture that had run its course. This unexpected move provided both sides with a crucial way out, a path to de-escalate tensions without either appearing weak. He skillfully avoided language that would cause humiliation or issue direct threats, allowing Iran to save face and step back from the brink. All the while, he asserted U.S. strength and resolve, making it clear that America was prepared to defend its interests if necessary. Trump's calm and measured tone had an immediate effect, reassuring allies and calming jittery markets, which had been bracing for a potential conflict. The speech effectively ended the immediate crisis, pulling the world back from the precipice of a potentially devastating war. In the aftermath, both nations remarkably claimed victory. Iran claimed victory for its symbolic strike, while Trump claimed victory for averting a full-blown war. With one carefully crafted speech, Trump turned a moment of extreme peril into an unexpected opportunity for stability, showcasing a surprising display of diplomatic maneuvering. This standoff was a masterclass in the psychology of conflict. Iran's missile strike restored national pride without inviting disaster. Trump recognized Iran's need for dignity and responded to intent, not just action. By letting Iran claim a symbolic win, he avoided the spiral of escalation. Both leaders appeared strong at home, while the world stepped back from the brink. The real victory was narrative control. Each side told its people they had prevailed. In this crisis, the story mattered more than the missiles. The 2020 crisis showed that even bitter enemies can avoid war through careful messaging and face-saving moves. Both sides used symbolism and restraint to create an off-ramp from disaster. The lesson in diplomacy, understanding pride and psychology, is as vital as military power. Letting an adversary save face is not weakness, it's strategic wisdom. This playbook won't always work, but it's a reminder that narrative and perception can prevent catastrophe. In the end, the art of saving face may be the world's best hope for peace.